Alright, this is video discussion number 2 about smartphones and mainly your speaking during interviews. One thing that stood out the most was she made a lot of jokes during her interview. I feel like it really lightened the mood because sometimes there can be a tough crowd and a lot of tension between everyone. So when she was able to have them constantly laughing and engaged in her speaking, I feel like that was really nice on her part. First off, agree or disagree. Her main points I agree with. She had this 10 rule system that she follows with her interviews. I'll get to that in a second. But she had some really good points, such as paying attention when you're in an interview with someone. Also, she mentioned how teenagers in today's society really don't listen to each other like how we should. A lot of smartphone usage, um, like texting is a big one. Teens nowadays usually text instead of, like meeting face to face and talking that way. And she mentioned how that could potentially hurt their communication skills after school or college because they're just so used to be behind their phone talking and they might not develop the communication skills that they'll need for the real world. I feel like it could hurt their social life too because, like, once again, they're not good with communicating because they're so used to just texting. Um, her 10 rules that I'm gonna get into. The first one was in order to be successful when you're in an interview or like a presentation. Um, I picked out some of the ones that I thought were important to me, or at least things that I've noticed myself falling into. The first one is no multitasking while you're speaking. Think about like what you're speaking about in the moment. Don't think about, what you're going to do later tonight or tomorrow. Just think about your topic and the information that you prepared yourself to talk about and talk about in that moment. And I feel like that's happened to me before. I've drew a blank thinking about, what I'm going to do after class or something like that. Another one was setting aside your personal opinion on your topic that you're talking about so you're not biased at any side. Um, I don't think I've fallen under this. I just thought it was important because it's pretty easy to, if you're talking about, say, you're a college athlete and you're talking about if they should be paid or not. Well, of course, you're probably gonna fall into a little biased on the yes part because you personally want to get paid. Another one is ask more in-depth questions, not just the basic questions, but ask why more. I feel like if you are able to ask why more often, you'll get a better in-depth response from the person if they're cooperative. Not everyone is cooperative when you're speaking to them. Another one is just go with the flow. Don't, I guess, like, don't get nervous. Don't rush anything when you're talking. Just stay calm. You prepared yourself for this. Um, just do what you do best, honestly. That's happened to me before. I'm not, I'd say I'm not the best in person speaking. You know, I'm a little introverted, but I feel like when you prepare yourself over and over and over again, and if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, then it should be easy to get up in front of 50, 100, 200 people and talk about it. Another one is don't repeat yourself. Now, this happens to me quite a bit, especially when I get nervous. Um, because like once you get nervous, you know, you just start panicking because you don't know what to say. Then you keep saying the same thing over and over again, and it just doesn't make sense. And everything is just bobbled up and cramped, and it just won't turn out good like how it's supposed to. She said this was the biggest step out of her 10, and it is listen. Listen more and talk less, which I feel like this can be not only for interviews but for life as well. If you take a step back and don't talk but just open your ears and listen, I feel like you can learn a lot more rather than just talking and talking and talking all the time. Personally, I've been told, you know, to maybe like, hey, take a step back and just listen to see what they have to offer so you can soak in that information and just become a better person. And honestly, with speaking and interview speaking, I feel like if you listen more, you'll be a lot more successful. And the last one was be interested in other people. Now, I wasn't too set on this. I feel like you don't have to be interested in another person to get your point across, especially if it's something that you enjoy or you find interesting. Um, but I will say um, if you're interested in the group you're talking to, it might be easier for some people. But for me personally, I would say it doesn't really have an effect on me. Um, Other than that, I I didn't really find too much. Um, like I said, she made some really good points. Again, like I said in the beginning, her jokes really lightened the mood, and I think that was really big for her. Especially with the audience and everyone else. But I think that's about it. So I will see you next time. Thanks.